So the Parti Quebecois scored a big victory over the CAQ in the Jean Talon by-election this past Monday. Pascal Paradis became the first PQ candidate to be elected in that riding. The CAQ had actually won it in 2019, but before that, Jean Talon had been a liberal stronghold since way back when in 1965. How things have changed. So what does this win mean for the PQ? Is it a sign of its revival? Parti Quebecois leader Paul St-Pierre Plamondon joins me now. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure.
I suppose congratulations are in order for the Jean Talon win. How are you feeling about it all?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, it's an important victory, and it's a victory that we never foresaw in terms of statistics. So we thought we could maybe, for the first time in our history, win Jean Talon, but never could we imagine that it would end up being a win with almost 6,000 votes ahead of the CAQ. So I think it's a very strong message in many ways. And of course, it helps us a lot because we're now 4 elected members in Parliament.
Now,
so moving from 3 to 4 on a daily basis. I have 3 kids that are young. My 2 teammates are still in Matane and in La Madeleine, so quite far from Quebec City. So like having a guy like Pascal Paradis who's in Quebec City and who's going to help us is a really big difference for us.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic a lot. Now I'll say some people, including, of course, columnists in the Journal de Montréal, are seeing this win as a resurgence of support for independence. Others, though, saying, no, it's simply telling François Legault they don't trust him anymore after the broken promise over the third link. Earlier this week, in our usual hit with former PQ leader Jean-François Lisée, he had something to say about it. So I'm going to play you a clip, and I'm going to get your reaction to it. Here we go.
Yeah.
You know, what happened in Jean Talon is that it was a referendum on the CAQ. And clearly, people were looking around to see who is the best hand to slap the CAQ. And they decided the best hand was the PQ hand. It had a good candidate. The leader of the PQ has a very good reputation that he's built over the last 2 years. And so they decided to use the PQ's hand to slap the CAQ very hard. Doesn't mean that they agree with it. Was not about independence. It was barely mentioned during the campaign.
So there's a lot in there, but I want to seize upon the independence part of it. Why wasn't independence more a part of the campaign? Do you feel like Quebecers still just don't really want to talk about separation?
It's really a by-election. We talked as a party, we talked about independence exactly in the same amount, in the same manner than for the past year since the election, so we didn't change anything. But obviously in a by-election, people are more concerned with very local issues. And it is correct to say that one important topic was whether people trust the CAQ or not. And clearly the answer is they don't trust anymore the CAQ when they say things, because it's been so many times that for very electoral reasons, they say something and then they do the exact same, the exact opposite right after the election. In terms of interpreting what it means, I don't see it as a slap. I see it rather as a signal, a very important signal to the government, and at the same time, it's a tap in the back for the Parti Québécois, because what people told us from door to door, and I invested a lot of time hearing people from a house to another. People told us, we like the way you are doing politics. We like the way that you explain, that you have a nuance in what you have to say. It's constructive. So we want to encourage that. And we disagree with the style of government that we're seeing from the CAQ. So it's 2 sides of a medal. And it translates into a signal, a result that is really, really clear, a much stronger win than we could have ever imagined.
Mm-hmm. We're speaking with PQ leader Paul St-Pierre Plamondon. I wonder, here in Quebec, we're great at voting people out, right? We get passionate about getting rid of government.
Well,
we're not always
as in many democracies.
Yes, yes. But then I wonder how you were 2 years out from an election, approximately, and how do you keep that momentum going? How do you make it so that people want to vote the PQ in rather than just vote the CAQ out?
I think we shouldn't and we won't change anything to the way we are approaching issues. So we show courage on many topics. The Oath to the King of England is one episode, but there are many subjects where we really said what we think about it, but we took time to explain, to put in writing our position, not to try to win the day, but rather explain as clearly as possible what's our stance. And so I think we'll just keep on doing exactly that and being ourselves. So a word that came often in Jean Talon is authenticity. So people appreciate that we're authentic, and we're just going to keep on doing exactly the same kind of work and not try to play too much in tactics and strategies. I think just keep on working is the main plan for us.
The main plan. Can I ask you to comment on François Legault doing an about face, kind of flip-flopping and saying, hey, well, maybe we should revive the third link?
It's really, I don't think he understands what the message is. The message from Jean Talon is stop saying something to get our votes and do the exact opposite a few weeks later. Don't do that, and don't stop improvising with the daily poll that you have in hand. Based on the poll you have in hand, stop making public policies on the corner of a table in a few seconds, because you can't have projects worth $10 billion just because of a by-election. It just doesn't make any sense. And so that's, I think, the message coming out of Jean Talon, and I think it's a shared message throughout Quebec. And so that he comes back with the troisième lien, the tunnel, after he said 3 months ago that he needed a lot of courage to follow the studies and put an end to that project he promised twice in 2 elections. I mean, I try to see how it could be positive from the voters, from the citizens' standpoint, and I don't understand.
Okay. I also want to just ask you, Mr. St-Pierre Plamondon, about the budget. So we were anticipating the release of a PQ budget for a sovereign Quebec. It's now been delayed. Why has it been delayed?
Well, we had a choice to make. The by-election is just 4 weeks. So if we had released the budget during the campaign, you have a minimum of 2 weeks discussing every figures in the budget. And meanwhile, the media will not leave you space for other topics because they've already given you space on that topic. So we told people in Jean Talon, we're going to campaign in Jean Talon. We're going to tell you the date of that budget. And that's what we did. And really, people told us from door to door, we'll read your budget. It's not the first time it's been done. It's the 5th or 6th time that it's done. So there's not going to be any big surprises as compared to previous exercises that are similar. Mm-hmm. So people told us, we're going to read it. We know you are sovereignists. And now we want to talk about what you have to bring, what you can bring to the table, what's your main ideas for this or that problem I have here in Jean Talon. So that's basically the decision we made. There was also an issue with resources. If you only have 3 elected members of parliament, your team is small. So if you put half your team on a budget that you release, well, you have half your team only during the by-election. So there's also an issue of resources that was there, and I think it's the right decision, and it doesn't prevent me from fulfilling that promise. It's going to be delivered in a few days now.
Okay, in a few days. And, I think, like you said, no big surprises in there. I think the big question is always, can Quebec afford to be independent? I will have to leave it there, unfortunately, but I very, very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I wish you a happy Thanksgiving.